Hi YouTube, Canadian Prepper here. Just was thinking about a topic for more of a thoughtful video, and something struck me as something we might want to discuss or think about. And I've thought about this before because I feel that, as I've talked about perhaps in other videos, that preparing for our own self-preservation, especially at this point in time, and when I mean this point in time, I mean this point in our evolution as a species, is fairly short-sighted. I do believe that we are, SHTF or not, on the brink of the next chapter of our species, whether that involves, nanotechnology, space exploration. We're in the infancy in those stages, and we are destined to go further, much, much further in those respects. However, the reason why I prep is because I know that this economic paradigm will not support that. I know that the world is run by people who have the most money, essentially, by the wealthy. And I also know that you don't get wealthy by being nice. So do the math on that, and that should give you an understanding of where I believe our system is bound for. I don't believe that all the gains we've made from this society are going to be in vain. I think a lot of that's going to carry over once the whole shift happens. But the idea that I was thinking about was, if there was that movie with Morgan Freeman as the president, and they do a lottery, there's going to be a meteor that's going to hit the planet, and they do this lottery where they pull in 2-3 million people of the population who they think are going to be, I'm not sure if they based it on merit. I can't remember if it was based on merit or if it was just a random number. I think certain people were excluded, if you were over a certain age and stuff like that. I think a lot of people, believe that, it is their right to exist. I mean, it is our right to, and I believe that also, that it's our right to preserve our lives. That no matter who you are or what immediate purpose you might serve the greater good, it's your right to exist, just like it's the right of any other organic species on this planet. But I suppose what I'd like to ask people is, why should you survive and not somebody else survive? What is it that you are going to bring to the table after the shift that makes you such a vital part of the human race? Now, I've hoped that I would be useful in more than just a material sense, more than just being able to physically be there for people, maybe mentally in some respects. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a mechanic. I don't have a lot of practical skills. Would I be required? I don't know. Do you think that you would be useful, perhaps more useful than somebody else? I mean, if you knew that there was a engineering student in your community, would you, and they weren't a prepper, would you take upon yourself to help them, knowing that they could be of some vital use to the reconstruction of society. So this whole idea that, that somehow we as preppers, just because we've thought about, all the possible things that could go wrong, and because we're paranoid enough, perhaps you could say, or some people wouldn't say paranoid, but it is, at its core, it is driven in fear of the unknown. But just because we were paranoid enough to think about that, or wise enough, if you want to use another euphemism, we're wise enough to think about that we are somehow more entitled to survive than people who are not necessarily prepared. They may be good people, they may have good skills, which will contribute to the longevity of our species. Because at the end of the day, preparedness just isn't about ourselves as individuals. Without our species as a whole, and I do say species, I could say community, I could say, country, but when it comes down to it, without the rest of our species, we are, our calls into question the purpose of our existence, you could say. So, what makes you worth saving? Should everybody be saved, regardless of their immediate use? A lot of people would say that everybody has potential. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with the fact that I think everybody has innate value. Be they people with, Down syndrome who might not contribute a whole lot. Maybe they'll, make somebody smile. Maybe that smile will motivate somebody to do more work. It's very hard to say what's going to be useful and what isn't. But perhaps it's important that all the more important that we make sure that we are moral and ethical, because at some point we have to ask, why am I worth saving and not the people down the street who haven't prepared yet? Would you be willing to give up your preps to somebody who didn't prepare, but you knew they would probably be more useful to the community than you? It would be a very selfless act. Be hard to do for a lot of people, because some people would rationalize it, well, if they didn't prepare, then, it's just the Darwin Olympics, it's, they may have been smart in all those respects, but the fact that they didn't prepare, for them to continue to propagate would somehow be a disservice to the species. I mean, you could talk about that kind of thing for hours. For the sake of not rambling on, I'm just going to cut it short right there. Just a few thoughts I had with respect to who counts, who doesn't. Because the time might come, and I want to thank General S. Lee for reintroducing me to the show Jericho. I started watching it a few years ago, and I think I shut it off after the first episode because the whole Hollywood drama and BS kind of got to me. But I've given it a second chance, and I've sort of been more relaxed in my intake of the Hollywood aspect lately. So, but in that show, they have to ration food, and they're forced to make some decisions as to who stays and who doesn't. So at some point you may be faced with that situation. And how do you assess, who's useful and who isn't? Just what I'm kind of getting at. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe, and by all means share. Thanks for watching.